Right now, Speaker Kevin McCarthy is wrapping up a meeting with the House Republican Conference on that bipartisan debt limit deal he brokered with the White House. The bill is headed to the full House for a vote tomorrow after it cleared its first procedural hurdle this evening, passing the House Rules Committee by a vote of 7-6. Punchbowl News reports tonight that going into that Republican conference meeting, Speaker McCarthy got a standing ovation and that he told Republican members, quote, "There's nothing in there for Democrats. I've never seen a bill that you can't point to one thing that the other side got." Joining us now is Ryan Nobles, NBC Capitol Hill correspondent. Ryan, thanks for joining me. I know this is an ongoing situation. Is there any sense that Democrats are going to balk at voting for this in large numbers?
I guess it would depend on your definition of large numbers, Alex. I do think that there will be a significant block of Democrats that end up voting no. But if you'll notice, there have been a lot of conservative Republicans that have declared their no votes, and hardly any, if any, Democrats that have come right out and said no. And I do think that's because there is a degree of loyalty to the White House, and they're judging to see just how many Republican votes Kevin McCarthy can deliver, and then a lot of how much we see Democrat support, rise or fall will depend a lot on that. Hakeem Jeffries, who's of course, leader of the minority, told us that he believes Kevin McCarthy can deliver as many as 150 votes, and that Democrats will fill in that gap, whatever that may be. So you're only talking about 70 or 80 Democratic votes that would be necessary to get this over the finish line. I think it's going to end up being a lot more than that. But there's no doubt when you have divided government, you have to come up with a compromise piece of legislation. So that means you're going to lose progressive Democrats and you're going to lose conservative Republicans, and that's how it gets over the finish line. And I do end up thinking that's how this is going to turn out.
Yeah, I guess I was asking that in part because McCarthy is so gleefully saying there is nothing in there for Democrats, and then also expecting that large Democrats will vote for something a deal that he put in motion. To that end, McCarthy getting a standing ovation reportedly in this House Republican conference. Can you tell me about his standing right now inside the party? You mentioned conservative Republicans who aren't happy with this, but is there any price that he will pay for any of this?
You know, Alex, I do think we don't talk about this enough, that these voices that are critical of Kevin McCarthy within the Republican Party, they are very loud. They have the ability to command a microphone. They do a very good job of getting their message out, specifically to the conservative base, but they are not large in numbers. The overwhelming majority of the Republican Party within the House of Representatives is very supportive of Kevin McCarthy. It played out in a dramatic way during the speaker's contest because it took only a few of them to break away from the conference to deny him that speaker's gavel. In aggregate, most of the Republican members are supportive of Kevin McCarthy. So it's not a surprise that he would go into that room and getting a standing ovation because they do support him. And I do think that that will play itself out with a great deal of specificity during this vote tomorrow. You're going to see most Republicans vote yes on this piece of legislation. Do they all love it? No, but they do understand that a compromise was necessary to prevent the country from defaulting. And the fact that they even got Joe Biden to negotiate at all when his original stance was that there was no negotiation related to a debt ceiling indicates that McCarthy did make some inroads in these conversations. So, McCarthy is not beloved by any stretch of the imagination, but he does have the support, and he's been able to cobble this group together. And, 20, 25, maybe 30 people that are very loud on the right and complaining about him do not indicate the overall sense of this conference in any way, shape, or form.
Ryan Nobles in the center of the action. Thanks for the update, Ryan. Appreciate it.